the bronze bomber has been fighting down to the level of his opposition. Vasha Hunt Upon hearing that Deontay Wilder had signed on to face Luis Ortiz this coming November 4, the immediate reaction was why jumping into the ring against the lower-reward Irish Cuban certainly doesn't make sense from Wilder's side of the deal. And it's absolutely not in keeping with the career path already established by the heavy-handed WBC heavyweight champ. Wilder has been fighting second and third-year opposition ever since defeating Bermane Stiverne for the belt in January of 2015, and, frankly, hasn't shown much shame in feasting on those soft touches. When a fighter is 5 defenses into a world title reign, and his high-water mark opponent is a brain-scrambled and battle-weary Chris Arreola, one can assume that there's not a whole lot of professional pride behind career decisions. If anything, the bronze bomber has been fighting down to the level of his opposition. So, that's why the announcement of a bout with Luis Ortiz generates nothing but question marks. From Chris Arreola and Gerald Washington to Luis Ortiz, that's a little like going from a Gawker track to the Indy 500. And it's not like the world was clamoring for Wilder to face Ortiz either. To be honest, the boxing world had pretty much given up on Wilder. Nobody has been expecting much of anything from Wilder these days. But beating Ortiz would be the perfect way for Wilder to earn some instant boxing street cred, and, thereby, strengthen bargaining power in negotiations for a mega-blockbuster heavyweight showdown with fast-rising superstar Anthony Joshua. If Team Wilder's eyes are on the UK's Joshua, a decisive win over someone like Ortiz is the quickest one-fight road to the world forgiving and forgetting all past matchmaking transgressions. Realistically, Ortiz is one of the few fighters out there capable of paving the way for a Wilder career absolution before a move forward towards Joshua. At some point, Alexander Povetkin was that fighter who could absolve Deontay of old sins, but a bout with the Russian, in Russia, was a risky proposition. It was so risky that Wilder and his people did not hesitate one bit in heading back home and crossing the Russian off their to-do list after some issues with the fight's doping tests popped up. Ortiz may or may not be a tougher task than Povetkin, competitively, but the logistics in making an Ortiz fight are infinitely simpler. Both fighters are under contract with advisor Al Heyman, and, from the lack of public acrimony during discussions, there seems to have been little trouble in negotiating the terms of the deal. The smooth sailing, uneasy negotiations are refreshing in a way, but they're also a bit troubling. The boxing cynic may have many reasons to feel that all this Wilder-Ortiz stuff is just a bit too good to be true. Fans who have been around the boxing block a few times and have seen interesting stuff go on throughout Wilder's career will have some reasonable doubts when it comes to fully accepting this matchup as an actual competitive fight and not a well-constructed setup. Why take on someone like Ortiz when a lucrative Joshua bout is so well within reach? Unless everyone is sure that Ortiz will lose, then, and only then, would Wilder versus Ortiz make sense from the side's perspective. It wouldn't be the wildest thing in the world to assume that a much-avoided 38-year-old contender, not guaranteed of getting Joshua or any other big-ticket fight anytime soon, might be willing to play fall guy for the right deal and proper future considerations. If anyone falls into the category of a candidate for paid patsy consideration, it would be Ortiz, who might actually be doing his career a service by losing and or looking less than what he really is. Mind you, this talk of Wilder-Ortiz being anything less than on the level is pure conjecture. But it would answer the questions of why Ortiz and why now, but maybe this is all on the level. Fighting the Cuban craftsman could be a play by Team Wilder at turning back the tide of negative public opinion. Maybe it's a way of showing the world that not only is Deontay for real, but that he's now ready to turn a career corner on November 4th, en route to nothing but big fights and compelling challenges from there on out. If that's the case, then, awesome. The world looks forward to Deontay Wilder slinging fists at the best of the best. But boxing is what it is, and the shrewd, diehard fans have learned how things usually work. When it comes to Wilder versus Ortiz, boxing will hope for the very best, but it would be wise to also prepare for the worst and most cynical.